Hey, Twisted people, it's your Twisted Woman here, Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR. And I am excited because we are talking American Horror Story Double Feature episodes 1 and 2, pretty much the premiere episodes. They released both of them, the first 2 episodes of what is season 10. It's been 10 seasons of American Horror Story. And yeah, we're going to talk about Double Feature and what the heck is going on when it comes to Double Feature. Thank you all who are joining me in the live chat and those of you who are joining in the replay. It's always a pleasure to be talking stories with all of you here. And so yeah, I want to jump right into it because we have 2 episodes that there's 2 episodes. They did 2 episodes. They released both. And I'm actually pretty happy that they released both, although I would have been fine with just the first episode because the first episode was really actually very solid. And I want to talk about some of the things that happened this episode, some of the things I liked, some of the things I didn't like, the characters, where we're going with all of this. But first and foremost, I want to ask you all in the chat and also in the replay, what are your overall feelings, thoughts about episode 1 and 2? Are you loving it so far? Do you think this has potential? Do you think this has potential to be one of the best American Horror Story seasons yet? I want to know. Let me know. Comment down below, comment in the chat. And, are you intrigued by this season? And for those of you who are big AHS fans, American Horror Story fans, have you watched every single season? I admit, full disclosure, I have not watched every season of American Horror Story. I even watched the spinoff American Horror Stories, and I've watched a few of American Horror Story. I kind of pick, right? It's an anthology, so I'm one of those people. I pick what interests me, not necessarily every single one I'm gonna sit through. This one was definitely one that interested me. Aliens and vampires, sign me up. I'm here to see where and how you're going to do this. Also, they got Macaulay Culkin this season, so I'm pretty excited because I really do like him. I like his. I loved him when I was young, of course. But it's great to see him doing things now as well. So I am excited to see where things go with that. But I also admit I am not one of those people who watches every single American Horror Story season. I pick what looks interesting to me because it's an anthology. But let me know. Do you think this has potential to be the best AHS season yet? Or are you kind of I'm already kind of I don't know yet. Maybe American Horror Story has lost its luster. Are you one of those people? I see that when I was, on social media a bit more. I see a lot of people sometimes, and this happens when you have a TV show that's been on for a while, where some people are like, oh my gosh, they've gotten so bad and things like that. Are you one of those fans? Or are you kind of no, I still think they're putting out good stuff? I know everyone, people can get a little cynical for shows after a bit. Hey, Ray, thanks for joining us in the chat. Ray is saying, I love this addition to the series and mythology. Ray is saying, so we have further mythology on vampires and an origin of a branch of the species. Yeah, definitely. Hi, Vera. Thanks for joining as well. Thanks for being here. Ray is saying, I am intrigued and I want to know more on the afflicted on Hotel Cortez versus the synthetic vampires and what happens if they stop taking the pills outside of the loss of their changed talent. I think what I love about this season is that, not saying that, I really enjoyed American Horror Story 1984. And that's probably just as you all have, if you've watched some of my other stuff, I love 80s horror. I'm a fan of 80s horror. I even put a poll out on what decade people love the most. And of course, 80s was kind of leading it because I think most people enjoy 80s horror. So American Horror Story 1984 was a lot of fun to me. Was I scared? Did I think it was a scary season? No, not at all. But I thought it was a fun season. I thought it was quirky and I enjoyed where they went with things. And one of my issues with American Horror Story, the universe, and even with American Horror Stories as this first season, was that at times I feel like the storytelling takes horror elements, but then kind of becomes, I'm not going to say a parody, but it kind of sometimes guts it of the actual scare factor. And I was happy to see, I feel like so far that they're actually doing pretty well with the creep factor. Maybe because things are in still a mysterious, we don't know, everything hasn't been showed. So I really do think there's a fear factor going on here that sometimes is lacking when it comes to the horror story universe, because it sometimes dives more into the absurd more than and camp more than it does the actual scary. Vera is saying, I am feeling this season, they better go somewhere with this Lyme disease thing. I know. Yeah, I don't know. They keep mentioning it and they keep looking it up. Solomon, thanks for joining us in the chat. It's saying, I'm loving Red Tide so far, but I'm trying not to get too excited after stories. Exactly. I am enjoying this so far. I really am. Ray is saying it's the camp and quirkiness that Ryan is known for. It is. He has quirkiness and he has camp, but at times, particularly with the horror front, I feel like and at times other writers who, are under his, universe, lean a little bit more into that, to the point where, we can sometimes lose the actual horror element that could still be there. You can still have camp and quirkiness and still have some horror elements. So Ray is also saying, I do love that sometimes it doesn't take itself so serious one moment and then goes full Halloween the next. Yeah. I mean, it goes back and forth. And I think depending on which season you watch, it's like, okay, this is really just absurd. It's kind of ridiculous now. Or it's, this actually has some fearfulness to it. So let's get into what actually happened in episode 1 and 2 and what we're thinking overall thoughts. You all watched this, so I'm not going to go like play by play. We all know what happened, but let's talk about some of the highlights. First and foremost, I would say that my grade so far with both episodes is a strong B+. And I want you to let me know in the chat and also in the replay, for those of you in the replay, what is your grade? If you had to give it a grade, what would it be for these first 2 episodes? And I'm going to say a solid B+. Mainly, I will say the B+ comes from me not knowing where the heck this is going. I'm just kind of like, where are we heading with this? How are the aliens going to come into play? Where is all of this going to go? And the characters so far. I was pleasantly surprised pleasantly happy that some of our main family thus far, who are the main family so far, but we all know it always branches out and it twists and turns and some characters come along and they're then the main characters and stuff when it comes to AHS. But our main unit of family so far are not jerks or are not people where you're just like, I can't imagine why these 2 people are married, or this kid is super, super obnoxious. No, well, the kid is a little obnoxious, but it's not so much like, oh my gosh, a typical, because sometimes I feel like there's this sort of edgelord thing when it comes, and by edgelord, I mean like wanting to be edgy, where, you have a family and it's already a broken family. There's already issues there. They already don't like each other. The husband's already cheating on the wife, or the wife's cheating on the husband. Yes, there are underlying things that we're seeing come out between Harry and Doris, the married couple, but it's not so much where it's like you don't also kind of believe the fact that they do love each other, or at least there's love there. And I did like that, because sometimes when you get these kind of stories already, you're like, these 2 people, what is this? That may change as the story progresses, especially with the decisions that Harry is making. But so far, I do like that they're not going the route that they're a completely broken couple from jump. So, hey, welcome to the dark side, who also a horror sister here, has a great channel where she reviews movies and horror movies and things like that. You guys can all check that out. We love spreading the love here for horror. So thanks for joining. Welcome to the dark side. Ray is saying the eerie old abandoned town northeastern vibe is palatable and almost an additional character. Exactly. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the thing of the small town. I love small town horror. I don't mind urban fantasy horror where they're in the big city and things like that. I don't mind it, but sometimes I think there's something to be said for small town horror, probably because Stephen King has done it, Derry and things like that, where small towns hold big secrets. And it's just kind of easier to have a cast of characters who have been around each other for so long and have their own relationships and things like that, that can then grow. It just works better sometimes. I don't mind city horror, but I feel like small town horror has its own kind of thing. And this town definitely gives that vibe. So I'm loving the setting so far. I am enjoying the setting of this so far. So we have our characters, and I want y'all to tell me in the replay, and also those of you in the chat, who is your favorite character so far? Who are you really feeling? And who are you like, no, let's hope they kind of, I mean, we always know that when people die on these shows, sometimes they don't stay dead. So that won't matter. But who are you not feeling and who are you feeling? Because I'm pleasantly surprised that I don't really hate anybody thus far. Because, like I said, in the Ryan Murphy universe, he has a tendency sometimes to create characters that are just not very likable. And yet you're supposed to somehow root for them in some kind of way. We saw that with American Horror Stories with the Ruby and Scarlet thing, for those of you who watched that spinoff. But we didn't, we had to watch and sit through them, but it was kind of like, did we really care for these characters? And I'm pleasantly surprised that with all of these characters, all of them have gray areas. They're all grayish characters, but no one's kind of like, oh my gosh, this person is just so, and I want to say that Harry, our main guy, with this so far is actually likable, which is something for me. The person who's playing him, Finn, the actor, he was in Ratchet. I don't know if any of y'all watched Ratchet, which I actually really did enjoy. Sarah Paulson is amazing in Ratchet, but and she's in this as well, and we'll talk about her. Tuberculosis Karen. But I was a little worried in following Harry that we wouldn't like this guy, that from onset he'd feel selfish and you'll be like, why is he the husband and things like that. But I actually really was fine with him. I actually, he's not stupid, y'all. Like, he actually, he took the pill, but it wasn't so much like, give me the pill immediately. Like, he wanted to leave after things happened. He was like, okay, we need to go. Like, we're not staying here because I need to write this script. We'll find another mansion or something. We'll find another place. And even with the pill, he was like, no, I don't do stuff that comes with like, like things. Like, he actually made some decisions that wasn't like, oh my gosh, of course this guy's doing it. Yeah. It didn't take long for him to take the pills, the black pills, which we'll talk about, but he actually thought some stuff through. And it wasn't completely like, oh, of course he's going to do that because everyone's horrible in these type of things, So that was something I actually did appreciate. Solomon is saying the small town setting and eccentric townies are so great. So far, I'm liking Mikey and TB Karen. Yes, definitely. Vera is saying feels a little like A24 film cinematography wise. Yeah, I agree. It has a very nice, you kind of can settle into it. I think that's the whole thing about the small town. I've been able to settle into this as a full-fledged story, not so much of, because it's been 10 years, right? 10 seasons. And with American Horror Story, sometimes it's more like watching out for who you recognize when it's been that long versus really actually getting into the story. And I found myself actually getting into the story, not so much like, oh, that's Sarah Paulson. Oh, Evan Peters is playing this guy. Oh, so-and-so is this person. It was more like, okay, what's going on here? What's the character? So I appreciated that. So we get the family coming into the small town. And we get the family, they're coming into the small town, and basically things already are kind of weird. Things are weird in the small town, and it's kind of like from the jump, it's like everyone's left, which is what we're told. People tend to leave, and so what we're shown is that Harry is an aspiring he's an aspiring writer in Hollywood, of course, or the Hollywood business. He's an aspiring writer in Hollywood, and he's out there to basically he's out there to finish his pilot. And basically it's a rewrite of a pilot. I guess he pitched an idea, and basically he's able to now, he pitched an idea, and they didn't, how it is for those who do know, when you write a script and stuff like that, they can say, oh, we love this script, but now we want you to completely rewrite it, do this and do this and other. So that sounds like what's going on with Harry. He's a good enough writer. He's not a hack or anything like that. He's actually a really good writer. He cares about what he's doing. And this is why he has this writer's block, right? Hey, Dawson, thanks. And cheers from Iowa. Thanks for joining us from Iowa. Stay safe out there. Ray is saying, I really like Mickey and this Karen, the LOL, not the rest of the Karen clan. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So then we have Doris, who is his wife, played by Lily Rabb. And she is also someone who is a force to be reckoned with. Lily is such a great actress. I kind of like whatever she does. She's so good. She can kind of just take on these characters, and she's so good at it. And so it's cool seeing her playing kind of like the wife who may or may not be as talented as her husband and daughter. The whole thing, she's there to kind of remodel the house. You want an Instagram contest for remodeling. And you kind of get the sense in the first 2 episodes that she's not as talented as the other 2 people in the family, right? And that's funny, but we'll talk about predictions in a second, but I kind of worry because of this whole thing that she's not necessarily the talented one, that she may end up maybe taking that pill and it may not go very well. But she's also pregnant, so we have that going on. And then we have their daughter, the little daughter, who's she's that I'm gonna be honest, y'all, she's that quintessential horror movie child where they just notice and they're so observant with everything, kind of talking like a grown woman most of the time, where you're just kind of like, oh, okay, they're so well known and things. So yeah, so there's that and everything. And so, we got this little family unit, but she's also like trying to play to be in the orchestra by the time she's 18. She seems a little neurotic, the little girl, and stuff like that. So we got this family unit. They're not obnoxious. They seem like, they seem like they love each other. They're getting along. They're not some underlying thing. The only thing that seems to come out later is the fact that Doris doesn't feel like Harry takes her passion for home decor seriously. But it's very obvious that the reason why he doesn't take it as seriously, and the daughter doesn't either, is because they don't necessarily think she's as talented to do that work. She used to be a teacher, but she went into this, and she can't seem to necessarily finish a job when she does this. So I think that's going to come into be problems later. Dawson is saying, I've been doing rewrites for dialogue before, but it's completely different from creating your own story. Exactly. If anyone's ever written a script or anything, they know the struggle is real, especially when execs and stuff are telling you, oh, take this out, we don't like this, and then gut your whole story. So this is a small town where some people are around. Harry is basically having writer's block. He can't seem to figure anything out in terms of getting anything on the page. His manager or agent, Ursula, calls him, and we know her. She's a familiar face from 1984 and the other American Horror Stories. And for those of you who really want a throwback, she used to be in that short-lived but awesome show, Popular, when it used to come on. That I think it was WB11, but it ended up being what CW ended up being. But that was that show, Popular. That's where I know her from. She's the agent. She's telling him, you got to get this together. And that kind of gives him, he meets also Austin, played by Evan Peters. I really enjoy Evan Peters, played by Evan Peters, and Bella Noor. And these are famous writers. Austin is a famous playwright. Bella Noor is a famous novelist. And they basically, befriend him and everything like that. And so and then eventually Austin presents Harry with the black pills. Now this happens after some weird things go on, right, y'all? the vampires, the ones who were hacks. They weren't really talented. The story seems to go, as Austin explains to Harry, that these people took the black pill, but because they didn't actually have talent, it just turned them into pretty much what kind of is a very relevant topic right now in our country, which is like, addicts, but addicts for blood. I felt like the show kind of plays on the whole question of the very real thing that doesn't get nearly enough attention in mainstream press, which is the opioid crisis that we have going on in this country in a lot of small towns. Small areas. And I did appreciate that as much as this show can, right? It's not there to be social commentary necessarily, but it does have its moments where it kind of touches on that, right? Where people get dismissed because they're an addict or they're not well off and things like that. And these vampires, as seems like they are, these bloodsuckers, whatever, who are addicted to, who end up taking the pill and become hacks, they kind of become, to me, the supernatural version of what, people who are, people who get addicted to these things become. They just kind of are there. People kind of just say, stay away from them, kind of thing like that. But it's a real problem themselves, the problem that they are going through, but also the fact that the town kind of just acts like they don't exist, although problems happen. So I did think that was, poignant. And let me know if y'all agree with that. Did you see kind of the social commentary there and whatnot? And of course, there's social commentary on the creative game, Hollywood, and things like that, where it's the question of, if you are someone who is a writer, and as someone who is a writer, I could understand it, where you want people to see your stories. You want people to either see, read, or hear your stories. And there is the question of, what will you do to achieve that? Because you really need to write, it's such a thing to need to write, as much as I love doing YouTube and talking to all y'all and everything, I am a writer, I write articles. I'm a journalist. That's my full-time thing that I do. And I also write, I have a novel that I've finished recently and things like that. So the struggle's real, y'all. You want people to hear your story. So I guess that's also why I could understand where Harry was coming from in the way he was. Let me see what some of y'all are saying here. Ray is saying, I'm glad that this American Horror Story actress took that role. I love Kathy, but I can't imagine her in the same room as Frances in that karaoke scene. Amazing. Yeah, Bella Noor, the actress that's playing her. Yeah, I really did like that. And she turns vicious real quick. And I just love that switch. I mean, she's going to be a formidable character this season. I definitely feel Bella Noor. We will remember Bella when this is all said and done. Yeah. So, let me see. Solomon is saying, I can see the parallels. I like that everyone in the town knows about the pill, but most seem to stay away from it. Exactly. The pill is a problem, right? But it's kind of creating this issue of addiction. For some, it works fine. For others, it doesn't. It's creating this issue that is not in the best interest of everyone there. But the town tries to move on and act like it's not a thing, but it totally is, right? So what we eventually also get is tuberculosis Karen, who seems to occasionally work for Bella Noor. I love Sarah Paulson. I'll usually give anything she's in a try because I really do enjoy her as actress. She's just likable, even if she plays someone that's not likable, she adds a likability to her because that's just the kind of character, that's just the kind of actress she is. It just kind of it just comes through, so, and I'm interested to see where tuberculosis Karen goes, because when I first saw her, I was like, whoa, what is this? What is Sarah Paulson playing in this part? But I'm interested because she seems to be in the know of things to a certain degree. And although she is an addict, and people, call her tuberculosis Karen. And she seemingly did give a baby to Bella Noor to eat. Whose baby? I don't know. But she did give a baby and all this stuff. She's a great character too. She's got her addiction and everything, but she seems to also have a little bit of a moral compass. I really like the dynamic between her and Mickey, by Macaulay Culkin. I love his dynamic. And he ends up taking the pill too. And he seems to be talented though. So that we'll see where that goes for him as he takes the pill. Tuberculosis Karen seems to be against taking the pill. And we have Harry taking the pill. And the little girl, the child, took the pill. Now, I will say my main issue, and I hope we eventually move away from it because I don't think you need to do it so often to drive home the fact that it happens, that we don't need to have it to see it as much, is the animal deaths. I'm kind of over it. In the first opening scene with all the roadkill, I was like, okay, cool, we get it. Someone's eating the animals, y'all. All right, sure. I was like, okay, someone's eating the animals. Good to know. That's cool. But I kind of felt like after a bit, it was like, okay, we are seeing a lot of that. I mean, and maybe I'm just a little biased because it's the animal lover in me, where I was just kind of like, I could go without seeing this, like every other moment, someone eating a squirrel or or something like that. We get it. They have to find things to chew on. It seems though that they also find things to chew on when it comes to actual humans, right? But I am kind of like, okay, I don't need to see dead animals every single time. The little girl, we left off at episode 2 where she totally was eating something. I hope it wasn't a cat. I have 3 cats, y'all. I hope I don't have to witness a scene where someone's trying to catch a cat. I just automatically take points from that. I'm sorry. So Betty, thanks for joining us in the chat, Betty. So Betty says, I think a lot of Harry's motivation is money. He just happens to also be talented. Okay. I mean, I agree with you. I do think there is the whole thing of money because they, when he saw he got the Netflix deal, I was like, that Netflix deal, things like that. They were very happy about that. Right. And even Doris, after everything that Harry had done, is pretty much acting like he was on speed or something for like 2 to 3 days straight. She even relented when she saw that they were going to get a lot of money, right? So I kind of get that. But although I do think he wants notoriety. He wants to be a famous writer. I mean, yeah. So I do think money is a big thing with that. But I also think he does care about the craft, which is why he was sitting there really just trying to, I think when someone cares about the craft, they're not going to be so quick just to put anything on there that they think works. So I do think that was also and a thing too. But I agree with you, Betty, that it was definitely the money as well. Welcome to the dark side is saying, I hope they show TB Karen past because it seems that she was very talented. Yeah, she had a talent. She has a talent where she's a painter, right? I think Sarah Paulson's character, Tuberculosis Karen, is going to play a large, major role. I definitely think that. And let me know what y'all think in the chat and also in the replay. But I do see her character playing a large role when it comes to where things go. I don't see her not doing that. When it comes to the mystery, y'all, let me know my thoughts when it comes to the mystery of who created the black pill. They called it the chemist, the person who creates the black pill is the chemist. I'm interested to see where this leads when it comes to the actual alien situation, right? How do we get there, right? I'm deliberately trying to stay in the dark about it and take each episode as it comes. So I'm like, okay, this is double feature. There's supposed to be an alien element because we saw all this stuff with the vampires and stuff. What's the connection? I think there's also mer people going on here, right? The mermaids and things like that. So I'm wondering when that's going to come into play. I appreciate that this show went right into it. I thought it was and maybe it's because of the fact that we have a whole other set of elements like aliens and stuff to get into, that they had it so Harry took the pill from jump, that the little girl took the pill from jump by the second episode. Because when I first saw it, I was like, okay, they're going to maybe draw this out. Harry might end up taking it, but we all know, I kind of figured, I was like, we know the little girl's going to end up taking it. The question is when. And then they had her take it in the second episode. I was like, whoa, they are moving fast with this. And I think And it actually, to me, is a good sign that they're moving fast, that they're setting it up where they already took the pill. This is going on. We already revealed to you what happens with the pill. This is not going to stay a mystery for 5 episodes, nothing like that. And I'm glad they're doing that, because to me, that's a good sign that there's more to this story to come. Because not to say that when shows at times draw things out, it might mean because there's not much there, so they have to draw it out. But some shows do that, and I am happy that in this 10th season of American Horror Story that they are not drawing anything out. They don't need to have a whole episode where nothing really happens and things like that. They can move right there into it. So Betty is asking, do you think tuberculosis Karen will ever end up taking the pill? Yeah. Well, let me think about that. And what do y'all think in the chat? That's a really good question, Betty. What do y'all think in the chat? And what do y'all think in the replay? Do you think tuberculosis Karen is going to take the pill? I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think she needs to. I think there's something else going on with her. They keep pointing out about this cough that she has and things like that. And that doesn't seem to be because of her addiction, right? I think we may end up getting something else about her, because we do know that this show isn't just about vampires this season, because it's double feature. We have a whole bunch of stuff, as we are seeing with the aliens, right? So supposedly coming into play here. So if that is the case, my honest opinion is I think there's something going on with her. I think there's a reason why she's very adamant about taking the pill. I think because she knows more, and that maybe there's something else she's going to get linked into. Maybe in the end she would take it, but maybe she doesn't have to. Maybe she's something else, and maybe she might not know it. I'm not sure yet, but that is a very good question, and I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that, because I would like to know. I didn't think Macaulay Culkin's character was going to take it so quick. When he took it to me, I was like, wow, they got him taking it already too. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, they are moving quickly with the black pill thing. So that lets us know that that's not the main thing going on here. There's more to this story, which I'm excited to get into. Dawson is asking, does anyone else think Karen might be the hero? That's another good question. I think tuberculosis Karen, I think TB Karen is the person to watch for sure. Now, this may be a red herring, y'all. This may be a thing where she isn't really, they're psyching us out because they think, oh, everyone's going to think Sarah Paulson's character is the hero because she's Sarah Paulson. Because, yeah, she usually tends to be the character that, comes through in the end, or comes through for the most part to a certain degree. And I think one would argue, are they going to try to subvert that? Like, are they going to try to be like, yeah, everyone's going to think that, but maybe she's not. Maybe we throw everybody off. But so far, I agree with you, Dawson. I definitely think that there's a chance that there's more, she's involved more. I'm expecting a glow up some part in this season from what she is now to what she eventually becomes. I'm kind of expecting a glow up. Okay. Tad. Okay, Tad. I'll call you Tad. I like Dawson too, from Dawson's Creek. Yeah, you were giving me Dawson Creek vibes, but we'll go with Tad. So Betty is saying, yes, I agree. I wonder what is really wrong with her. Exactly. What's the cough about, right? What is the cough about? Exactly. Yeah, so I think we're going to be getting into that. I do think she's going to play a big part. I think Macaulay Culkin's character is going to play some kind of significant part too. Because I don't think you bring Macaulay Culkin on to play this part if he doesn't play a big factor. And I really love the connection that Mickey and TB Karen had. There was already chemistry there, and they already seemed to really care about each other. So I hope that gets fostered. Maybe they are the couple to root for, or the duo to root for when it comes to this season. So we'll see how that shapes up. I still also root for Doris and Harry. Do y'all think Doris and Harry have a chance? Because we all know what happens with married couples when it comes to shows like this. They start off fine and then things just go to crap. And I wonder if that's going to befall them as well, especially with Doris being pregnant. I hope she doesn't take the black pill because of the fact that she's pregnant, because what will that do with the kid, So we'll see where that goes necessarily. Or maybe she takes it and she has some other hidden talent none of us know about, and maybe that's where her talent comes from. What we also know is it seems like the black pill turns people into jerks. That's another thing about this pill, because the little girl got real nasty with her mama. Harry got really nasty. And we also see that Bellanor has a streak about her. Austin seems more chilled. He doesn't seem to have a nasty bit in his bone, in his body, but we haven't seen everything yet. But we do know the black pill doesn't just make people want to drink the blood of others. It seems to also kind of change their personality. So Betty is saying, I don't think it's in the cards for Doris and Harry. Yeah, I mean, there's already problems there. And I guess they may not be the couple to actually root for. So we'll see where that goes. But I agree with y'all where y'all are saying that Sarah Paulson's TB Karen is probably going to emerge as the character to pay attention to this season. Rightly so, because she's who she is. But I also hope, as much as it may not be in the cards for Doris and Harry, Lily Rabb is just an amazing actress, right? So I just kind of hope that she doesn't just become the wife who ends up taking the pill and something happens to her and then she's in a coma for like episodes. I don't think you have her play the character she's playing. I don't think you have her in this show if you're going to waste her on just that plot line. I honestly feel like there's going to be more for Doris's character, mainly only on the strength, just like with Sarah Paulson. You don't have Sarah Paulson come on and play a character that's just going to go off somewhere. You have her kind of be significant. And I think that's the same thing at this point with Lily playing Doris. She's not the type that you just bring on to just kind of shuffle her off to, something else necessarily. I'm just going on the strength of that so far. But if she wasn't Lily, I would agree with you, Tad, that she'd be a goner. If it was anyone else but Lily playing this character, I'd be like, yeah, there's not much hope for this wife. But because it's her, I don't see them bringing her on if they weren't going to try to do more with her when it comes to it. So I guess we'll see. So far the scare level, and let me know what y'all thoughts are. My scare level for these episodes is a 6 so far. I think the vampires, the vampire hacks or whatever are actually very creepy. I thought the scenes where that vampire ended up in the house and Harry had to fight him, that caught me off guard. I didn't see that happening in the very first episode, and it totally did. I think there's a lot going on here that can give way to some real fear factor moments. And I hope they keep playing with that. I hope that it doesn't descend into just absolute absurdity to the point where it loses its fear factor, because it's just absurd at this point. That usually happens towards the end of seasons when it comes to American Horror Story. So I'm hoping that at least the majority of this season keeps with the fear factor, y'all. Because I'm definitely giving it a fear factor score of a 6 so far, 6 out of 10. Because I actually am creeped out, the blood, killing people randomly, all of that is really good stuff. And I'm really immersed in this story. I'm definitely immersed in this story. I think this is a great, strong start. And I don't know if this is going to eclipse 1984 for me just yet. But it's a strong contender that I may honestly end up liking this one. I might end up liking this one a bit more depending on how they handle this plot line. And I'm a sucker for alien plot lines too. And if they end up being able to immerse this in a way that works, it's definitely going to eclipse it. So we'll see about that. Jorge Ramirez, thanks for joining us, is saying, I do too. It seems like 2000s era of horror, more science-based. Exactly. I mean, the vampire thing isn't just lore. There's a chemistry thing going on there, right? And I agree with you that the black pill seems to be more creation of things. So I think that'll be exciting to see where this goes. What's up with this chemist? How did they come up with this? Why did they come up with this pill? And I think that's going to start maybe connecting to the alien plot line here, Jorge. And I'm excited for that as well. So Betty is saying, very creepy and beautiful setting. I hope we stay in Provincetown for a while. I hope we do too. I hope the whole thing kind of happens in Provincetown. I'm fine with flashbacks and galaxy type stuff if they want to show some aliens or something like that. But I think Provincetown is like others have said. Solomon, I believe, mentioned it. It's a character in and of itself, and I hope we get to dive into that more. Yes, I agree as well. It looks good and it's different looking than the other seasons. And I think they needed that, right? I agree. I think they needed that. I think they needed a season that was a little different. When you're 10 seasons in, and I'm going to be honest, and for those of you who have watched my American Horror Stories reviews, I wasn't really feeling that first season because I feel like the show is a little bit too self-aware of itself, almost jumping the shark. And I feel like they played into that too much in the American Horror Story spinoff. And I love that this one seems to be taking itself seriously as its own story. It's not just leaning on the fact of, hey, you like American Horror Story. Let's play, do you know this person? And this person you remember from season 4 who's now back, and things like that, to the point where it's like, it almost relies on your loyalty as a avid fan more than giving you a good story to just come into and watch where it goes for new viewers alike. And I definitely think they brought their A game, or in my case, B plus game, because I gave these 2 episodes a B plus so far, B plus game when it comes to this season. So I'm excited to see where it goes. Tad is saying, I would have slapped my child if they talked to me that way. Exactly. But the little girl, that I feel like that was the pills talking. She seems like she's aware, but the pills really brought out a nasty side to her. And I think that's also what the pills do too. So that maybe they're out in terms of justifying why some of the characters start being really cruel to each other and to others, especially Harry, because Harry seemed like a nice guy. And then he started taking the pill and he's totally cool with just killing people and a guy under the docks and all that. So I feel like the pill also kind of takes away your humanity a bit. So you become very, to that. So Betty said, yes, it feels more real, if that makes any sense. And it does make sense to Betty. It feels real. It feels like they're actually leaning into this story. They're not just leaning into the fact, oh, this is American Horror Story. It's like, no, here's a really a solo story that you can get into whether you're a fan of this series or not. So I'm happy where they're going so far. But this is only episode 1 and 2, y'all. They could totally mess it up in episode 3. We'll see. Solomon is saying, I am happy that the cast is committed to their roles. Yeah, exactly. I agree. They definitely seem to be leaning into it. Solomon said, unlike stories, which seemed like it was full of stunt casting of celebrity kids. Exactly, right? That's exactly, you hit the nail right on the head. Solomon, where there are times when you're just like, oh, so-and-so's in this. Oh, so-and-so is going to be in this. And there's not really a story there, just happenings. And I feel like in this season, we're actually going to get a real story. We're going to get a good story here. That's what it seems to be shaping up to. So Betty is saying the pill seems to remove the filter between your brain and your mouth. It does. Although, I don't know. I don't feel like the little girl really feels that way about her mom. I feel like she was just like kind of cruel in that moment. I think she genuinely does love her mom. I think for whatever reason, but you could be right. Maybe it is some underlying truths there and they'll start coming out because they have a pill that just makes it so they just say whatever they want, which would make me look at these characters a little differently, right? Because so far I'm giving them the space of these are actually decent people, but this pill's turning them into horrible people more than, okay, they were just horrible people, and now the pill's just revealing that. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, y'all, my overall thoughts is B plus for this show, B plus for episode 1 and 2. I'm super excited about this. 1984 is like my favorite season thus far of American Horror Stories, are the ones I've seen. But I do think that this has a contender to be my fave because it has a lot of elements of things that I like. And that's not actually the vampires. I'm not really that big of a vampire fan. It was more the alien angle that made me really want to watch this season. But I am pleasantly surprised that I am actually enjoying the vampire angle of this too, probably because they are connecting it to the whole opioid crisis commentary and making it, like Jorge mentioned, which is, the chemical aspect of it, right? So I'm definitely enjoying it. But let me know, y'all, in the comment section, in the replay, let me know your thoughts. give it a grade. Let me know your fave character. My favorite character so far is TB Karen, and I'm rooting for her because I love Sarah Paulson, but more so because TB Karen seems to be the only one who has her head on right when it comes to things. And I'd like to know what happens. So she's my fave. Let me know your fave. And also, if you haven't already, please do give this video a like, a thumbs up. Feed that algorithm monster. You know, I don't drink blood because I didn't take the black pill, but I will take your likes. Please give that. And so, you know, other people can check out what we're doing here. And I hope, rewatch it. Maybe you'll find some other little gems that we can talk about next week when we do episode 3, because we will be talking, God willing, about episode 3 next week, y'all. And I'm hoping they keep with it. This is really good start so far. I'm really excited about where we're going. So, thanks, y'all, for joining me. If you are going to be around later on today at the time of this live, and you're watching DC Titans on HBO Max, you can join me for my episode 5 review of that show. Also, I will be doing, if you watch the show Evil on Paramount Plus, CBS, I will be doing that with my mama. We'll be doing reviews of those episodes of the latest episode coming out today, actually, but we'll be doing a review of that this upcoming week. So check out for that if you haven't, if you're into Evil. It's a great show. Check it out if you haven't already. Very well written. But yeah, until next time, y'all, thanks so much for joining me. I love talking stories with you all. You all make this such a great time. Oh, well, before I go, thank you so much, Jorge. Thank you for the $5. That's awesome. I appreciate you. And I mean, honestly, I talk to y'all without it, but like, you know, it's always appreciative when we get when I get that super chat with the $5. Thank you so much. Jorge is saying, yes, a lot of realness, seeing this in real life, and they're capturing addiction so well with these 2 episodes. Love your commentary. Thank you so much. And yeah, we're going to go through this season. We're going to see what happens because I'm really intrigued. I hope they don't drop the ball, Jorge. I really hope they don't drop the ball. But we'll see. But thank you so much for the $5 super chat. You are awesome. Thank you so much for that. Welcome to the dark side. My horror sister is saying, I love Evil. I have to catch up with the new season. You should. It's really good. Oh my gosh, I love this show. So Betty is saying, oh my God, love Evil. We'll look forward to your video. Exactly. Yes. Thank you so much. And join, you know, me and my mama, we're going to be taking the rest of the season on. We're just going to go straight from where we're starting, from where they're at, because there's stuff to talk about, y'all. But once again, thank you, Jorge, for the super chat. And thank you all for joining today. And I'll see you next week. Until then, stay safe out there and keep watching and loving horror, because it's good for your soul, unless it takes your soul, because that's what happens in horror sometimes. Talk to y'all later. Thanks again.